Now that our bacon is cooked, we can go to the step 2 of the tart, which is finishing our sauce. We need to let it cool down a little bit, otherwise it will affect the puff pastry and it will alterate a little bit the dough. If you put something hot on puff pastry, what it does is that it melts out the butter that is lining within the dough. And if that butter melts out, well, you will get a lesser puff. You will not have that beautiful rise inside your puff pastry. So we're gonna leave it to cool down a couple of minutes while we'll be finishing the sauce. I've transferred the sauce to a little bit of a bigger bowl because I'm going to add a little bit of white wine into it. So as I said, you mix about 50-50 Greek yogurt and whipping cream. And you give it a slightly good whip in order to combine all those ingredients nicely. Now we are going to add a little bit of this wine, which is a Semillon Sauvignon Blanc made in Western Australia. Western Australia does great Semillon Sauvignon Blanc. It's a grape that has good condition in the WA to grow and gives a beautiful fruitiness, tropical flavors and savoriness to the wine. And we are going to have a glass of that as well. You put about 10% of the quantity of sauce that you've made for the wine. So for about, here we got about 400 grams of sauce. We are going to add about 40-50 grams of wine. I like to be generous with the wine. Never too much, otherwise the bitterness of the alcohol will overtake the whole taste of the sauce, but generous. So we're going to go about, here we go about 50-60 beautiful wine. Give it another stir. And now we're going to add some salt. Always try to use a nice sea salt. 3 nice pinch of salts. And 2 nice pinch of cracked pepper. Black cracked pepper is the best for this type of sauce. You could also traditionally use nutmeg to flavor this sauce, or chili if you like. You know, you can use different type of powders, spices, herbs. You can use pretty much whatever you want. You can change this sauce to your will and to your own taste. But today I'm just going to keep it very simple with salt, pepper and white wine, just so we can have the flavor of each one of those ingredients. Now we give it a nice little whisk, just so the salt combines and melts down into the cream and the yogurt. Now our flamiche sauce is ready. So the bacon is cold and crispy. The onions are all ready and cut. Our puff pastry is cut and ready to go on the tray in the oven. And we've seasoned well our sauce. Last time, right before you put your sauce and put everything together, give another taste to your sauce. Taste it, make sure it's salty enough. Sometimes the salt does not dissolves quick enough, so you have to taste it a little bit later. So we're going to give it another taste. Perfect. Perfect. Just right a balance of peppery and saltiness to it. So now we are going to go to the last step and get our baking tray. As you see, the baking tray, I lined it with some baking paper. Very important, so you do not get your tart to stick on the tray. Those little stains you can see here are a little bit of butter. You can also use a little bit of oil or one of those oil spray to stick your baking paper to your baking tray. Because most of those ovens that are absolutely fantastic ovens are forced fan. And what it does is that the fan will lift up your pepper during the cooking process and the pepper might go on your tart. And you do not want that to happen, otherwise it will not cook properly. So now you're going to that way, just so you can keep the sauce inside the middle of the tart. Otherwise it might leak off on the sides and it will not be very nice. It would not look very nice. As you can see, I've just bent every single side, giving it a nice edge, so my sauce does not come out while I'm cooking it. And the puffiness of the side also will give a greater crust. So we are just going to do that for every single one of our serves. And then methodically we will process the onion, the bacon and the sauce. Very important to process it that way. Always start with your bacon, with your onion, then add your bacon, just so the bacon, just in case it's still a little bit warm, does not affect the pastry, and finish with the sauce. There you go. Remember as well, when you put things on a baking tray, to always space them. Give them space so they can puff, so the heat as well circulates properly on the baking tray. Otherwise, it will just stick together and will not cook properly on the edge. So sometimes you might need 2 baking trays for this kind of things. Well, use 2 baking trays. It will take you a little bit longer, but the quality of your final product will be greater. Almost done with creating that little edge on our puff pastry. A puff pastry is absolutely great, you know. You can also use it for sweets. And I'll show you next time how to make great palmier of puff pastry, just using puff pastry and sugar, simply. And we make a palmier, which is a French traditional pastry made and that look like into a heart shape. You might have seen it if you've been in France in all the bakeries. We also sell it as a mini palmier that are great with the kids or as a wedding gift, closed in little bags. Absolutely beautiful and so easy to make. The palmier, the funny story about the palmier is that they got a different name in every country. You go to Switzerland, they call them the heart of France because of their shape. You go in South America, they call them los orejas, which means the ears, referring to the elephant ears. So it's quite a funny story. And in France, we just call it palmier, as in palm tree, which is, I don't know where do we get this name from, but this is how we call it. So next step, the onions. You want to put your onions. Do not put too much. Remember, keep a balance within your ingredients, just so everything blends well together. So we're gonna put just a few onions there and there on our tart. Not too much. You just want to have the oniony taste, that nice little taste. You do not want, we're not making an onion tart here. It's a flamiche. So we just want a little bit of onion in order to have the taste. There we go. Just a little bit there and there. Beautiful. And now we're gonna spread that to every corner of the tart, just so every single bite got a little bit of that balanced flavor of the onions, bacon and sauce. Beautiful. Perfect. So you might have a little bit too much onion here, so I'm just gonna take it off from here and transfer it to that little tart here. Perfect. Now the bacon. Bacon has pretty much cooled down, so put it on your tart evenly, little bit everywhere. Voilà, so every single bite once again got that bacon and onion flavor. Look at the simplicity of that. Simple food are the best food and generally the most easy one. The easiest, should I say, excuse my French. Et voilà. Every single tart well loaded with bacon and onions. Beautiful. Now the last step, the beautiful step, the adding of the sauce. I'm just gonna put that whisk away, and for that I'm just going to use a spoon because I do not want to put too much. It's not a pizza, it's not a quiche as well, it's not a batter that you put, it's just a sauce. So, lovely sauce that you're just going to transfer on your, about one and a half spoon the tart should do the job. Et voilà. 1.5. You want to cover a little bit your bacon with that sauce, just so the bacon first doesn't burn in the oven, and secondly infuses with all the taste of that sauce. And try to stay on top of your tart when you do that, just so you avoid any sort of messiness. Beautiful. Put that sauce away, because we're finishing it. Just a little advice with that sauce. It's a great sauce, so if you make too much when you're making the flamiche, just like I did today, do not throw it away. You could make either more flamiche with more puff pastry if you're hungry later. Simply prepare it like that, freeze it, and put the sauce at the last before you put it in the oven. You can keep it for a couple of days, and the taste does not alterate too much, the quality is still there. Or, another simple recipe to do with that beautiful sauce is a pasta. You can make absolutely beautiful pasta with this sauce. It can be a great pasta sauce. Just keep it in mind, so do not throw it away. Remember, French do never throw any ingredient, they use everything.